So my name is Christin Lathrop, and I'm the Director of Admission here at Proctor. And we were so excited to see so many names on the list for the tonight. Some of you have been working with us for a very long time, and maybe some of you are newer to the process. So we're really excited that you've chosen to join us tonight. This conversation with our head of school, Amy Smucker. If you didn't catch the beginning, we're just going to record this so that we can put it on our website for tomorrow. And without too much further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Amy, and she is going to share some slides and her ideas. And then after that, hopefully, you're gonna put some questions in the chat for us. And I'm gonna try to moderate those questions and pose them to Amy. So as you're going along, feel free to put your questions out there. And once she's done, we'll look to that and hopefully answer all those questions. So take it away, Amy.
Right. Well, welcome. It's so wonderful to see everyone. And I'm grateful to you for spending time with us this evening. I also wish more than anything that we were sort of together. And I love that Zoom brings us together from sort of all around the globe. And so we're going to try to make this as sort of casual and welcoming as possible. So please do. Um, Put some questions in if something doesn't make sense as I go. And I've asked Kristen to sort of interrupt me if there's something that I miss or something like that. But it is wonderful to see so many people on here who I've met in my first 7 or 8 months here at Proctor as you've come through to visit the school and this is really exciting. I know what a exciting and a little bit nerve-wracking of a time this is, right? You're in this like amazing time of transition where you're thinking about sort of what is the next step and where is the right school for me and I think that spending time like this, getting to know the soul of a school is the best way to sort of approach that work. So Kristen, go right ahead and we'll get started. So I wanted to just introduce myself and my family a little bit. This is my husband, Jimmy, and I. This was the first week we got to Proctor the summer. We moved in July. We had been at Berwick Academy in Maine for 12 years. And before that, we were at a school called the Kent Hill School. And we were really excited to come to Proctor and we hiked up the ski hill. We thought we were going to run up the ski hill, but we ended up sort of like more slowly walking up the ski hill and took this picture because we were so blown away by the vastness of the Proctor campus and just how beautiful it is here and how amazing the facilities are. So that's a really special picture for me. And then we bring with us our two dogs. This is Moxie and Wookie. And I showed this picture because, as you can see, Wookie has always identified as a hornet. And so he's really excited to be here at Proctor. Um, all right, let's move on, Kristen. Okay, so I'm going to only speak for, 10 to 15 minutes. I'm going to kind of share with you what I'm seeing here at Proctor and then have time for questions. But I really want to share with you sort of what I've seen at Proctor in the faculty, students, and what our kids are experiencing. I want to share with you our commitment to health and well-being. It's really an important piece of what's happening here at Proctor. And so I want to share that with you. I'm going to talk a little bit about why Proctor matters in the world. And then I want to just share what I think are Proctor's differentiators, sort of as you look at all these schools that on the surface may look similar. I think really identifying what makes Proctor unique will be helpful to you. So again, this is our campus. We have an incredible amount of acreage in this beautiful place in New Hampshire. And I feel so fortunate to be here and be able to explore all this space with our kids and our professional community. But the location is not the thing that is most interesting and special at Proctor. It's since the moment that I was hired at Proctor, which was sort of over like a year and a half ago, I got hired. So I spent a year getting to know the school. And people kept saying to me, like, you really need to understand the culture at Proctor. And have you really gotten a sense of the culture? And I knew that Proctor had a really unique culture, and I knew that it was a transformational place. Um, but I didn't know the extent to which that really sort of was a foundation for Proctor. And I'll talk a little bit about more about like what makes the culture so unique, but I will say that as I've gotten to know Proctor, I recognize that like my job number one is to ensure that our culture is maintained and continues to evolve in really positive ways. It's a really special place. So, before I get into talking a little bit about our professional community and our students, I wanted to show you this picture. This is my favorite part of the day. We come to assembly 3 days a week together. We walk from all over campus. You saw that big campus, and we come together, and Lindsay Allenby stands outside taking pictures of kids and faculty as they walk in. And it's really just fun to stop outside of assembly, check in with each other, see all of the smiling faces. And then we go inside the meeting house. And if you have visited us when we've had assembly, you know how special that space is. And it just makes me happy every day to walk to assembly with these kids. So I want to talk first a little bit about our professional community. And these pictures for me really speak to this group of people. And the first thing I want to say about our professional community is, as you might imagine, it's a lot of work to live at a boarding school and be with adolescents 24/7. And so you have to have a desire and an ability to really just lean into having fun. And I have so much fun with this group of people. And as you can see, they have a great sense of humor. I think it allows them to connect with students in really authentic ways. So on the outside, you see that there's just a lot of fun happening. And then on the inside, you can see that our professional community and our faculty are just doing the work of school with our kids. So in the top picture, you can see all of our kids do dishes here. All of our faculty do dishes. We do it together as advisee groups. And it's really fun. It's something that we sort of get into. And then down below, you'll see John Bouton, who's one of our English teachers. He runs a guitar club, and he's not a guitar teacher. He just loves to play the guitar, and he brings kids together to do that. And it's really special. And I just think it speaks to the warm hearts of our professional community and the way that they lean into enjoying their time here. And I think that when they spend that time with kids, they get to know our students in a really deep way. And that is what really enables them to hold our students accountable, sort of with deep support and care, because they know each other so well. And these are our students. This is a picture from Holderness Day this year. We went to Holderness. We bring the entire school. So we loaded up on a bunch of buses. And I was really excited to wear my green and white striped pants, which you can see in this picture. And I was really excited that the kids got totally into it. Everyone had on all kinds of green and white stuff. And I ended up, there were so many people there, parents and alumni. And I ended up sitting with our kids, partly because I wanted to see what the energy was like from our students at a sort of charged athletic event. But also, I just wanted to sort of make sure I was so much a part of the day. And the way that they show up for each other is really amazing. They are so positive and so excited for each other, sort of win or lose. It's really impressive. People have asked me sort of what surprises me most about Proctor, and I have to say it's our students. They are engaged in a way that I've never seen before, and I've been working with teenagers for my entire career, and the kids here really lean in. They they're really accessible to adults in a way that is different. And I think I don't know that it's that we're on a first name basis here or that we're sort of in the trenches together, sort of learning and growing together, but they sort of open up to adults in a way that I haven't seen. And so what that means is that we're able to really understand what motivates them, what drives them, what brings them joy, what scares them. And that's really unique. And I think it's really brave of them to open up to adults in that way. Um, I also want to say about our students, and for those of you who are on this call who are students, or if you have a young person in your life, there's a lot going on for teenagers right now. And I see that with our kids. They're managing all of their coursework, their sports, the play, um, anything that's going on at home, the news, and all at the same time that their phone is just like giving them messages all day long. And their lives, in many ways, are being lived in front of everyone on social media. And so I'm really cognizant of both the opportunities that our kids have, but also the incredible pressure that our society is putting on them. And I think that here, I want to figure out like how do we alleviate that and give them the skills to really lean into that so that they can be kids and thrive and really feel like they've had a joyful high school experience and kind of bring that with them beyond Proctor. So this is sort of a mishmash of photos from our off-campus programs. And so I want to talk a little bit about um, our experiential learning. I think that in some ways, experiential learning has been a buzzword in education. And I see it truly happening here. I think that the easiest place to point to at Proctor is our off-campus programs. And I hope every single one of you on this call will be able to go on an off-campus program. When I meet with our alums, they want to talk about the skills that they learned on our off-campus programs. But in this picture, you can see our kids in Spain, which I get to go visit them next week. I'm so excited about that. We have kids, our mountain classroom kids. You see the bus here on the in the top right. They are driving around the American Southwest. They're at Joshua Tree right now climbing. They did a 5 day solo, on their own camping, where they sort of wrote letters and wrote in journals. They plan all their meals. They're learning about native cultures and science and the environment. And they don't have their phones the whole time. And my assistant head, Annie McKenzie, who I hope you'll meet if you haven't yet, went to stay with them during our bonus weekend. Our kids had a long weekend. And so she went to sort of relieve the faculty who are with our mountain classroom kids. And she said to those kids, what's the best part of being on mountain classroom? And they were like, we just don't have to worry about all the things that are going on our phones and beyond. And the opportunity to have that time as a teenager is pretty special. And so I think that uh, I wish I had had that as a teenager, and I think everyone should go on Mountain Classroom. We also have kids in Costa Rica, and then we have kids who are on our global art program. Right now, they're in Europe. I think they're in Prague right now. They spent the first half of the trimester in Tucson doing en plein air painting and studying a lot of the art that they're now visiting in Europe. Um, and then, of course, Ocean Classroom. We have 22 kids every fall that go to Woods Hole um, and uh, and go on a tall ship from Woods Hole down to the Caribbean. While they are on that ship, they are they're part of a data collection and it's a research boat that they're on. And so they're really learning research skills and they're contributing to the research that the boat is doing, while learning to sail and be part of a group. So I think we can go to the next slide, Kristen. So I wanted to just share with you this visual of what will be very soon our Health and Wellbeing Center, and wanted to give you a little bit of background and tell you sort of how I'm thinking about health and well-being. Um, I think the school had as part of its strategic plan a real focus on helping kids to be as healthy as they can be. And to sort of build a more comprehensive space for healthcare and counseling and all the things that we think of that are in a health center. And so we had an incredibly generous couple of donors that came forward and really made this health center a reality. And so we have this beautiful building, which I'm really excited about, but I'm even more excited about what it represents at the school, in that as much as we're committed to teaching kids how to learn, and committed to neurodiversity and metacognition, we're equally as committed to teaching kids how to be well in the world, how to take skills beyond Proctor with them to college and after that, so that they can thrive. We know that in our country, there's a mental health crisis. We know that kids are dealing with the complexities that I already talked about. And we're sort of working to understand those and understand how students at Proctor, in Proctor's model, thrive under different sort of circumstances. And so we hired a wonderful woman who's our chief medical officer, who's actually studying our kids, pulling a lot of data on our community, so that we can sort of track how we're doing. And then our goal would be to go out and teach other schools how to do this in a really authentic way, right? Not putting band-aids on things, but we're really teaching kids how to thrive. So I want to share, just sort of outside of the classroom, off of the athletic field, places where I believe Proctor has a lot of soul. And for me, as I think about my role as head of school, I sort of talked a little bit about job number one for me is culture. And I think that that is really about sort of stewarding the soul of Proctor, right? And making sure that it exists and it's alive and people understand what it is and sort of feel it when they're together and on campus. And at the same time, I think it's my job to make sure that all of our community, our students, our faculty, and our parents and our alums are also as deeply committed to nurturing the soul of the school, right? It lives within all of us. And so we do that in a lot of different ways. I already mentioned assembly, and I think that's a place where we come together to have a lot of fun. When the students plan our assemblies and they do a lot of games and sort of fun activities. But we also have hard conversations. There's a lot of hard things happening in our world, and we really believe in having fun and having joy and also not ignoring what's challenging and coming together to talk about those things and take ownership of those things when we need to and leaning into it. And I really appreciate that about Proctor. And I think that's a really part of the soul. This is a really honest place. Um, Students love uh, spending time with adults. And so this middle picture is kids at our house. We do a birthday banana split party once a month. Our dogs love it because the amount of sprinkles and M&Ms that end up on the floor is significant. Um, but kids love to come to our house, just like they love going into faculty members' offices and classrooms. And they just want to share in their experience. They want to talk about, what's going on in classes. And then the other thing that is amazing to me is they want to know how I'm doing. They ask me about myself and my family, and they want that connection. And that's really part of the soul of Proctor too. And then I have this picture here of me on orientation. I was so scared to go on orientation. I've been camping my whole life, but I have never carried 5 days worth of like what I needed in a backpack. And I was worried that I would fall over or like not be able to keep up with the kids. And you can see this group of girls behind me, and we had the best time. And they were so supportive of me. I felt like I was able to show up and be supportive of them. Um, and my favorite thing that happened on this trip was on the last night. Um, we sat around, we couldn't have a campfire because there was a sort of fire danger in New Hampshire, but we sat around, our little camp stove making hot chocolate. And I asked them each to tell me one thing they learned about themselves on the trip. And Finley, who's in the red t-shirt, sort of on the left there, she was a sophomore and she came on the trip because she went as a freshman but hurt her knee on the first day. So they had to evacuate her, but she wanted to again. So she came again this year. And on the first couple of days, she was sort of like walking in the middle of the group. And then I noticed by the end of the trip, she was really leading the group and showing the group the way. And as we were going around and talking about what we learned about ourselves, she said, I learned on this trip that I'm a leader. And it just is like the most special thing that happened to me this fall to see that our kids, like these experiences that they're having, they're able to recognize the like really big lessons that they're getting out of them. Um, and that's so much part of our soul as well. So, everyone since like the day I was hired has been, what's your vision? What's your vision for Proctor? And I've been like, I need a minute to sort of get to know the school and really understand what the school needs. But I've been thinking a lot about it and I've been doing a lot of writing about sort of what I think our vision is. And it's sort of a work in progress, but it's really invited me to think about like why Proctor? Why does Proctor matter beyond just like our kids that come here and our alumni and like what does Proctor mean to the world? And this is sort of how I think about it. And I'm going to read it to you quickly, if you don't mind, because I know some of you probably can't read this small writing, but Proctor matters more than ever in the world. The increasingly complex world Proctor students are entering demands more than traditional outcomes. Students must understand how they learn, how they respond to challenge, and how to care for their well-being as they move on to lives of purpose. Proctor meets this moment through deep relationships and meaningful experience that build self-awareness, reflection, resilience, and agency. Learning, well-being, and experience are intentionally integrated across academic, residential, and experiential life, creating a transformational educational experience and positioning Proctor to be setting the standard for doing this work with clarity and integrity. So this is sort of how I think about us in the greater context of schools and what we mean. I think we're an incredibly unique place, and this is why. Okay, so this is actually my last slide. Um, but I did admissions for a long time in the beginning of my career, and I know how hard it is for families to weed through all of the data and really kind of figure out like what school is right for me. And I think part of it is that it's hard to sort of differentiate one school from another. And so I've been thinking a lot about like what differentiates Proctor, and I've been really pushing myself to say like, are there three things that are different and where Proctor really excels and is one of the only places that does this? Um, and so those three are sort of deep developmental relationships. I've talked about that as I talked about our professional community and our students, but there's a lot of intention behind how we form relationships here. Um, and 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 that intention then allows us to have a foundation of relationships that enables us to push kids to say to someone like, I know you think that you can't build a boat in woodworking, but I actually believe that you can build a boat. So like, let's do it together. Like that building a boat doesn't happen unless you have a really strong relationship with that teacher or your advisor or someone saying like, I believe in you. Um, Experiential learning shapes who our kids become. It just does. They have these moments of self-reflection and just awareness that happen to them when they're removed from the regular experience, and then pushed to have this experience where they're learning by doing in a really authentic way. And then learning how to learn. I think Proctor excels at teaching kids how to understand how their brain works, how to think about what they're thinking, and really have that be the core of how they're learning. So rather than a student walking into a classroom and being presented with all this content, a teacher's going to say, like, we're going to learn something hard today, and I'm going to introduce it, and then it's going to get kind of gritty, and then you're going to sort of start to figure it out, and then you're going to practice, and then you're going to figure it out more, and then you're going to be really confident about it. And so our kids like understand. We'll have kids say, like, I'm in the deep ditch of learning right now where I don't get it yet, so I know I need to keep asking questions. Um, and then when they come out the other side and they've actually learned, they understand the process they went through and they're really proud of themselves. Um, so I will stop there, and let Christin sort of let me know what questions she might have. Christin, you are muted.
Sorry, there was noise in the background. Sorry. So I'm stopping to share. So now you can see our faces. Um, and then I'm going to look through our chat. But while I'm looking through the chat, Amy, I'm going to start you off with a fun one that I haven't heard the answer yet. So, what has been your favorite moment this year? And I will work on the chat here.
Ooh, there's so many good ones. I think that I actually think my favorite moment was my moment with Finley on project period on excuse me, orientation. But I'm gonna actually go a little bit farther and say there's these like clusters of moments that just bring me so much joy. And it's actually whenever I see one of the kids that was on orientation with me. And I'm guessing that that's the experience that our kids have when they walk around campus and they bump into a student that they did orientation with, right? Because we all come together, nobody knows anybody else. We're put in this like kind of challenging situation. We come out of it on the other side together, and you have this bond with that group of people that you won't have with anybody else. And so we get really excited when we see each other on campus, and I think that's what happens for them too. It's like a jackpot if I run into like two or three of them at the same time, and we have this like mini reunion. It's awesome.
Sounds amazing. I have yet to do it, so it's on my bucket list.
I need a partner this year, so
Oh, okay.
think about it.
Maybe. Okay, so there are a couple questions about cell phone policy,
Mhm.
Amy. Can
Yeah,
you help share how we approach that?
yeah. So I would say like all things cell phone, I believe our cell phone policy is going to evolve over the next probably forever, actually. So I think that where Proctor has been and where we're going is that, we're a place that works really carefully to make sure that we are anything that we put in place in terms of like a restriction or a bumper that we set up for kids. It's really important to us that the kids understand why those bumpers exist, right? So they understand why, and it makes much more sense to them. And so I think that when schools started sort of banning cell phones altogether, we did a lot of research at other schools with other kids, and what those kids kind of said is like, yeah, we like don't have cell phones, but we all have burner phones, and so we sort of see our way around the phone situation. And I think for Proctor, like that's not the kind of relationship that we want to have with our kids, and so. What we have been doing is sort of creating what we call sacred spaces on campus where your phones actually are not welcome. And in some of those spaces, they're actually like not really allowed. And in some of those places, we just encourage kids not to use them. So, for example, in assembly, phones are not allowed. And kids are not on their phones. When we arrive at assembly, if you get there early, you might get there 5 or 6 minutes early. You'll see advisors chatting with kids or students chatting together. They're not sitting in the bleachers, sort of scrolling. And so that for our kids, I think is a really important sacred space. The other sacred space is our classroom. So we have a threshold rule where kids, when you walk into the threshold of class, even if class hasn't started, your cell phone is away. And that enables kids to have that sort of time between classes to connect, and allows for that to be a place of learning, right? That you're sort of leaving distractions outside. The other two places where that are sort of sacred spaces for us, where there's a little more flexibility, is the dining hall and our pathways. So, our we work hard to talk about the importance of saying hello to each other as we walk by each other. And if you visited, hopefully you've noticed that our kids will say hello to you. They certainly stop and say hello to me. Um, and then the dining hall, our students actually have created, they want to be cognizant that there might be a kid that like what they need that day is to sit in the corner by themselves and like text with their mom. Like, and that we want them to be able to do that in the dining hall. Most kids aren't doing that. The kids have set up like games and cards on the tables. And so that has really become a sacred space also. As part of our work in health and well-being, we are really paying attention to the data that we're getting from outside of our school, and then the data that our chief medical officer is collecting this year, and thinking about what do we want to put in place in the future in terms of restrictions or blocking apps during the day, so that we can get to a place where, we're paying attention to the impact that phones have. And also, we're teaching our kids how to interact with their phone in a healthy way, knowing that as soon as they leave Proctor, um, you know, there aren't going to be any restrictions and there aren't going to be sacred spaces. And so we really want to work together with them to create a healthy relationship with their phone. The
Thank
other thing I'll just add to that, and my board chair always reminds me of this, and so if she were on this call, she would sort of say this to me after, is that we also create a lot of experiences that are completely phone free. So orientation is a great example of that. A lot of our off-campus programs are a great example of that. And so what that gives kids is the experience of what it's like not to have a phone. And I think that they come back from those experiences with a much greater appreciation for the challenges that they have with their phone, and also the ways in which their phone, makes it easier for them to be in touch with their family or their friends or whatever it is.
Great. Thank you. Um, this is a good question. So, how can parents get involved, knowing that some people are local, driving distance across the country, across the world? How can parents get involved in Proctor?
So many ways. I have been actually really surprised at how involved our parents are at Proctor. My last school was a day school, and as you might imagine, those parents were on campus every single day doing drop off and pickup. And I was kind of thinking, oh, I'm going to miss having parent association and sort of parent engagement. And I haven't missed that at all because I think our parents are very present. So a couple of examples that I will give, and there's a lot more. Um, One is that our Parents Association, I went to their first meeting this year to introduce myself, and there were maybe 10 people in person, and then there were another sort of 15 people online. And so people who don't live locally can be very much a part of our Parents Association. And they were planning, they do a lot of fun events for the kids. And so they were kind of planning that and talking through like how to make that happen. Um, One other way that parents can be really involved is through our Proctor broadcasting. Um, and I think that we're really unique in that not only are all of our games live streamed, but we have student and usually a faculty member or sometimes two students who are what's it called, Kristen, when you're calling the plays or whatever?
Um,
They're like narrating the game.
yeah.
My
Yeah, they're the
husband's gonna be really
broadcaster,
embarrassed that I
the
can't come up.
sportscaster.
Yeah, sportscaster.
Yeah,
So, I encourage you actually to like get online and watch one of our games online, sort of
hilarious.
for you. Yeah, it's amazing. They know like all the players, they are doing all this commentary, and it's really cool. But parents love that because they feel like they're part of the community in that way. Like, if you're in California, you're watching. I actually visited California last week to visit a number of alumni, and we watched the girls' hockey game online, and it was great to listen and sort of feel like we were there. And then we invite parents to campus. We have a really robust family weekend. I had a big tent in my backyard and couldn't believe the amount of parents that were there for the evening. And I think our parents really enjoy getting to know one another in a unique way for a boarding school. And so it really does feel like a larger community.
Yeah, well, you're always welcome. You can come. We just want you to make sure they can get back to study hall, get their homework done. Um, so, all right. Tough to choose. There's so many questions out there. Let's see. How are student athletes supported with regards to balancing school, work, life, practice, travel? I mean, it kind of speaks to like, what are we trying to do here, right? Like everyone's balancing throughout the busy day, but what have you seen, Amy?
Yeah. I think I've seen a lot of different ways in which we support athletes. I think that all of our kids are really busy, and some kids are a little bit busier than others because they're traveling pretty far for sports.
Mhm.
And I think that we have really intentional ways in which we support them. Um, and so part of it is around making sure that there's good communication between coaches, learning skills, teachers, advisor, and that communication is constant. I'm seeing it. We have a great sort of online system in which people sort of write, and kids and parents can see this. Like, Kristen is missing an assignment. Perhaps it's because she was, up late for a hockey game or whatever. And then we work together to figure out, well, how can we support Kristen and making sure that that doesn't happen again? Um, I think our kids are who are really committed athletes are very committed, and they really want us to help them to manage their time. So that's pretty exciting to me. I think we have some athletes, we have a ski program, kids that are racing at the highest level are FIS racers. We actually have a dedicated person who supports their work, and making sure that because they're missing a lot of school. So making sure that their coaches know what work they have. And if they're missing work, they don't go. And our kids really, they know that, and that's meaningful to them.
Yeah, and I would just say I always hear the coaches saying that academics come first. So if you're not pulling your weight there, then you should skip practice or you should skip a game and you need to get your work done. And I think the other neat thing, especially in the winter, is that our schedule, we have a shorter class day. So there's the basketball and hockey players actually have more and everyone else, pretty much anyone except for if you're on the snow, you're going to have more free time in the winter. And so a lot of the coaches actually have like study hall in the afternoon if they have a late practice. So, coaches are trying to make time for them to get their work done. And then I think what Amy said at the beginning too, the communication is key. I mean, we're all here to support them in doing their travels, right? And they know that Wednesdays are game days, and they know, how long they have for study hall at night to get their work done. So teachers aren't trying to overload them; they're trying to challenge them appropriately, and then the students, it's on them to, communicate and be responsible with their work as well. So, I mean, that's what we're made for. There's no more driving all over for you parents, driving all over to, get them to games and such. So, we try to fit it all into our schedule. Okay, so let's touch on the learning skills program. And the question is, what types of profiles are we supporting? And sort of like, what are we seeing for success there? What does that look like?
Hmm. I think I can speak best to sort of like what I see as success from
Yeah.
learning skills because I
Hmm.
think I hear about it
Yep.
constantly from parents. Like that's what parents want to tell me about the experience is how amazed they are. So I think we have a deep commitment to learning skills. I actually think that that helps all of our students, even if they're not in our learning skills center, to be better learners because our teachers are so aware of all the different ways in which kids learn. And when I go in to meet with Jen Fletcher, who's our learning skills director, what I really take away from her is that the relationship that's built between our learning skills teachers and the students is key. And I think that the way in which that those teachers are able to help kids to trust them and work with them and get to know them allows them to really understand like how to best support the kids. Jen and Christin work really hard to make sure that every student that's applying for that program is going to thrive here. Um, and um, and that's really important to us and that for some of those kids that they work their way out of our learning skills program and they're really proud of that sort of as they get to the end. But um, yeah, I don't know. Kristen, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, I think you said it. I mean, the students are learning strategies, and then the goal is that they're becoming independent learners by the time they're done or partway through, right? Like the goal is to work their way out and then feel really confident and be great advocates when they leave. And then I would just say, like, there are so many different profiles, so that one's a little hard to answer, but what we do expect from students is that they're doing the mainstream work here, and that we're not modifying anything. So they're doing the same work as anyone else. They have access to all the classes, arts, honors, any class. So we have 7 blocks to allow for that. So they still have time in their schedule to do all the things they want. So a lot of different profiles will work here. It just, takes a student who's ready to put the work in, who wants to learn and wants to understand their brain, and they can get incredible support here if they're ready to do that. So. Um, all right, so let's see. We do have a bunch of questions about the off-campus programs, and they're a little bit more of like how it works and that type of thing. So I can just say quickly that, students apply a year ahead and you prioritize your picks and your terms because maybe you want to be gone in the fall, but you want to be back here to ski. So there's so many different variables, but you're thinking a year ahead. And there was a question about how many people go. I mean, our goal is that anyone that wants to go on a program is that we would try to get them off campus in their time here in their 4 years. Um, and it is a puzzle and a process to try to support all those students. But we try to, seniors get first pick, so we prioritize them. And their advisors help them, and their teachers and their families like decide which term and which program makes sense for them. And there's an application process. So just want to touch on that. And there was a question about like, does it change? We do change, things shift sometimes and evolve with these programs. So we're trying to provide awesome, authentic, timely programs that we believe in. So it does shift a little bit. Um, Amy, here's the one for you. What drew you to Proctor?
Ah, I so it's interesting when so I sort of entered this job search sort of not being totally focused on the fact that I wanted to be ahead of school, and it was really much more around Proctor. And so I think that so I love this question because I chose to come here to be the head of school at Proctor. Um, and and I think that what I loved most about Proctor through the process of really getting to know the school better was that it was a place that truly was a very authentic place. Like I want to be in a place where I can just be me and everyone else is just being themselves. And I think Proctor just is so open to that. Um, it's a really humble place. I also wanted to be at a place that I felt like I was making a difference. And I think for Proctor, like this is a school where you'll meet someone who went to Proctor at some point who will be like, Proctor transformed my life. And that's the kind of place that I want to be. And I think Proctor does that really intentionally. And a lot of people call it magic. They're like, oh, the Proctor magic. And the Steve Wilkins, who was the interim head, he's like, it's not magic. It's a lot of really hard work, but it feels like magic because it's so impactful. And so I really wanted to be part of something like that. And I love this area. I love New England. I'm excited to be in a place where I can go skiing and just go out in the woods and be around other people that love to be outside.
Awesome. I love that you picked it just because it's Proctor. You weren't going to be ahead anywhere.
Not just anywhere. It had to be the right place.
Okay, so here's a timely one. What is the school's policy on AI? I think I'm asking that right. Sorry, I scrolled away. And students' use of it.
I don't know. I mean, I think from like an academic point of view, our policy is that you're not using AI unless your teacher has asked you to.
Yeah.
And so we want to use AI in our classes because our kids have to know how to leverage AI. It's going to be part of the work that they're doing in whatever jobs they're doing that we do, don't exist yet. We don't know what they're going to be. And AI is 100% going to be part of the work that they're doing at some point. So we're not sort of shying away from AI. I think that we are really working with kids to understand like what is it? How can it support your learning? And how is it not supporting your learning? And so I think you'll find that there's a variety of different ways that our teachers use AI. And there are some classes that don't use it at all. We have an English teacher he's like, I really am having kids like, writing in a blue book sometimes, or, I think really thinking about the different ways that we assess kids and just being really open with them about sort of when they can use it and when they can't. I think that we're interested in thinking about how AI might leverage a lot of the good work that we do already with helping kids understand how they learn and using it for tools to support their learning. And we're excited about that. And it's totally overwhelming. There is so much happening with AI, and so it's exciting and scary at the same time. And we're sort of working to learn and bring the kids along with us. And in some ways, they're bringing us along with them, right? They're so savvy.
And there are also, we have professional learning communities here. It's sort of like an internal professional development opportunities. We have probably like 15 or 20 different groups that meet of faculty. And so there's one that's looking at AI. So, teachers and, I get to choose a different, focus. So that is one of them. So if I am psyched that there's people, that want to look into that and make sure that we're going in a direction that feels right to us. Okay, one just came up that's new. All right. How about teaching mindfulness and meditation? Is that incorporated at all? And might that be part of the new health and well-being initiative?
Yeah, I'm actually not sure if we have any, you might know that, Kristen. Do we have
Yeah.
any meditation sort of coursework?
Um, well, we have at times in my past 10 years here, but right now I think they do some of that work in the freshman and sophomore seminars. There's some, they look at sort of like they look at health and well-being and life skills. And so one is sort of like de-stressing and looking at stress and understanding that. And then we do have other opportunities. Like there's a teacher who offers yoga. There's a few things, it kind of just pops up at different times, but I think that it may get incorporated more in what, we're trying to do in the future with Dr. T.
Yeah. So I think that's helpful. And I think it will absolutely be part of what we're thinking about. This spring, as we review the data that we have from our kids, we surveyed our kids and did focus groups with our kids sort of all fall and into the winter. And um and so as we look and then parents, so as we look at that data and our work group with Dr. Turkington sort of looks at what do we need to put in place, I think we're thinking about all the things. And so it might be mindfulness, meditation, but also other skills classes or ways in which we're teaching well-being through the classes that we're already offering. We really are thinking that this needs to be embedded in Proctor in the way that our learning skills is.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that. Amy, I think a fun one that hasn't been asked, but you've been meeting with a lot of alumni this year, and I'm just wondering what you're hearing from them. You probably met more than I have in your short year.
Well, they all, they want to make sure that I understand how important the culture is. So they like keep reminding me that that's so important, and I love that. They also want to make sure that I know how much they love Proctor. And I think that's pretty neat that they really want to just tell me, like, you need to know how much I love Proctor. The thing that's been really interesting to me is to see how alumni are incorporating their experiences at Proctor in the work that they're doing. And I see that a lot. We have a pretty active group of alums. Like they're very sort of entrepreneurial and a lot of like adventure based stuff. A lot of people doing environmental work and outdoor things. But when I was in California last week, I met with this alum named Angie, and he was talking about his experience. He kind of came to Proctor because he was a competitive skier and he went on to ski at Middlebury. And so really, really good skier, but he went on Mountain Classroom. And when he was on Mountain Classroom, the focus of that trimester was really around like food systems. And so they did a lot of work in understanding food systems in I think the Pacific sort of Northeast, or sorry, Northwest. And um, and so he was really interested in that, and that was really meaningful to him. And then went to Middlebury and sort of got an economics degree and was thinking about like, okay, I'll do finance and now he's working with communities out west to sort of finance like alternative water sources. And so it's like mixing his like interest in sort of finance and economics with this like deep commitment to food acquisition and water sources and the environment. And all of that sort of came about at Proctor. And so we were kind of talking about like, could we get our mountain classroom to like stop by and see him when they're out there, so that he can share that with him. But I hear that story a lot, sort of this like commitment to the environment, and like combining it with other work that they're doing that is really interesting.
Thank you. All right, let's see. I'm trying to make sure we've covered everything. We have 5 minutes left, and I hope we answered a lot of those off-campus program questions and questions like logistics there. All right, I got another new one. Let's see. What did I miss, folks? Sorry, I'm scrolling really fast. Um, okay, I think we got most of those. Um, what else, Amy?
I
Did
just
you
saw
miss
one. I
anyone?
don't know. I didn't know I could see the chat, but one just
Okay.
popped up here around like recent financial commitments.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that one.
What does that say?
Oh yeah, at the bottom. Thank
Yeah.
you. Proctor recently received some pretty huge financial contributions. Are there any exciting plans? It's a good one.
That is a really good one. Whoever asked that question, thank you. So yeah, we're having a really exciting sort of philanthropy moment at Proctor. We received our largest commitment in our school's history, which was a $10 million planned gift, meaning that it's an estate gift and it'll come sort of later on. But I think speaks to uh, the transformational nature of Proctor. We also received a $2 million gift sort of in support of an upcoming campaign that we're sort of getting ready to do. And I think the focus of that campaign is certainly health and well-being. And you can see the health center that we sort of already did. We've raised $12 million in that area already that will go towards this campaign. But this $2 million gift that came in will sort of be the start of a real commitment to residential life. We have a lot of dorms on campus, which is amazing because it means that we have really small dorms, and that's really part of our model. And it makes, covering those dorms challenging and renovating so many dorms challenging. And so our plan is to build two more dorms, that will allow us sort of the swing space to start renovating some of our other dorms, create more faculty housing. And in addition to that, we're really thinking about where are the gathering spaces on campus. One of the things that Dr. Turkington has sort of said is like the most important thing is for kids to have a lot of social interaction with each other, and we have that in our experiential learning. But we really want to look at like what are the student spaces where kids come together? What do our common rooms look like? What does the student center look like? And so I think there'll be some exciting investment in those spaces in the coming years.
Super exciting. I think the adults and the students are excited about all of that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's see. How about Amy? Last question. We have 2 minutes left. What has been the most inspiring place on campus for you? Leave us with I
Oh
don't
my
know. Maybe it's
goodness.
people, maybe it's a place. I don't know.
Yeah, I have two.
Okay.
I'm gonna share two. One is in the meeting house, which is the place where we all come together. It's really like my heart flips over every time I walk in. I'm so excited. And then the second is a place that probably all of you have not been yet, and it's a place called Elbow Pond, which is on campus, but you kind of drive to get there. You can
Or run or walk or
or run.
bike.
That's like a long one. So if you want to get there quickly, you drive. And it is a place where our kids can go swimming, and the adults can go swimming. And in the winter, they do polar plunge. So they actually like drill and cut a big, cutout in the ice, and they jump in. And then there's a sauna. It's like a wood-fired sauna. And they all go sit in it. It fits like 20 people. It's so fun and beautiful and amazing. And I bet there's no other place that has that kind of facility. It's really cool.
Yeah. And if you ever are here in the summer, it's like the most peaceful place and beautiful, and there are no motors on the lake. And yeah, it's really awesome. Well, thank you, Amy. We have met our 8 p.m. mark here in the East. And we're so excited. We had so many folks joining us. So hopefully you enjoyed us tonight. It is recorded, and so we will post that tomorrow on our website under virtual events, I believe. Um, and we're excited, and we're hopefully going to see a lot of you or all of you again pretty soon. So thank you. And thank you, Amy.